There is something you never lost, something that was present before the first thought this morning, before the first worry, before the first name you gave yourself, something you observe. It's not an idea. It's not a belief. It's not something you need to learn. It's what you already are, before you even try to be anything else. And it is precisely this version, the one that exists now, not the one you plan, not the one you still hope to be, that creates reality. Stay here for a moment. There's no need to go anywhere. This moment is enough. This moment is everything. Have you ever had that strange feeling of being present, but somehow absent, to walk around all day and then realize at the end that you weren't really there, that there was something between you and life, a membrane, a veil? You looked at things, but your gaze was elsewhere. You heard the words, but your mind was already weaving other stories. There was always a space between you and the moment, a step away, a second late, and then you searched. He searched in books, in practices, in conversations, in new versions of himself that promised to be better. I was searching for the feeling of being complete, the feeling of arriving, of finally being enough. But there's something that hasn't been said in this search. The one who was searching was the same one who was already complete. The seeker and the sought were never two separate entities. Observe this moment. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Just observe it. Something is watching you right now. Something is reading these words. Something is feeling the weight of your body in the chair. Something is noticing the air going in and out. Call it consciousness. Call it presence. Call it whatever you want, or call it nothing at all. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you recognize it, because this observer, this perceiving silence, has never been absent. He was here when you were 5 years old. He was here during the moments of greatest joy. He was here during the darkest times. He was here this morning, while you were still asleep. Consciousness doesn't come and go. It's thoughts that come and go. It's emotions that arise and dissolve. It's identities that form and dissolve. But what is perceived in all of this remains. And here's something that few people stop to consider. If there is an observer and there is an observed, then you were never just the observed. You were never just the anxious thought. You were never just the painful memory. You were never just the role you learned to play. There was always something bigger, something that saw all of this happening. That something is who you truly are. Consciousness doesn't create based on what you want. She creates from who you are. There is a very subtle, yet profoundly transformative difference between these two sentences. When you want something, there's an implicit separation. There's a self that desires and a reality that hasn't yet yielded. There's a tension between what is and what should be. But consciousness does not operate within this tension. It operates within identity. What you believe to be true, reality confirms. Not as a mechanical system, not as a formula, but as something much deeper, like the shape that water takes from the container that holds it. Reality takes the form of the consciousness that inhabits it. Think about that for a moment, not as a concept, as an experience. Have you ever noticed how, on certain days, the world seems different not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. How can the same streets seem both oppressive and liberating? How can the same words from another person seem both critical and a gift? The world doesn't change. The observer changes. And then the world seems different. This is not poetry. It is the nature of consciousness. Now go even deeper. If the observer shapes what is perceived, and if what is perceived constitutes their reality, then changing reality is not a matter of acting differently. It's a matter of being different. And here lies the most beautiful paradox. To be different, you don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you already are, beneath everything that has been added, beneath the learned fears, beneath the inherited identities, beneath the stories you've repeated so many times that you've forgotten they were just stories. The present self, not the past self filled with regrets, not the future self filled with hopes, the self that exists now in this very moment of reading. This self has a power that no other can have. The power of being, not trying to be, not practicing being, not planning to be, simply to be. And in that being, consciousness emits something, a frequency, a quality, a texture of existence, and reality, which is made of the same stuff as consciousness, responds. Not tomorrow, not later, now. The manifestation is not a future event. It is an immediate consequence of who you are now. Every moment is a mirror. Every encounter is a reflection. Every circumstance is an echo of the state of consciousness that created it. This may seem daunting at first glance, as if the responsibility were too great. But feel it again. If reality reflects consciousness, and if consciousness is something you can inhabit now, then change is not in the distant future. She's a breath away, a recognition away. Allow yourself to feel this now, not as a philosophy, as a sensation in your body. Something opens up when you stop trying, when you stop searching outside for what only exists within, when you stop waiting for the right moment and recognize that this very moment is the only moment that has ever existed. You don't need to fix anything right now. You don't need to solve anything right now. You don't need to become a better version of yourself right now. You just need to recognize who you are when you're not trying to be anything. This recognition, this stillness that settles in when the search stops, is not a state that you achieve. It's a state you remember, because he was always here, beneath the noise, beneath the urgency, beneath all the roles you learned to play. And when you remember it, when you dwell on it, even if just for a moment, something changes, not because you did something, but because you were something. And the awareness that you once were begins silently to rearrange what is around you. The people you attract change. The opportunities that arise change. The way you interpret situations changes. The way situations interpret you changes too. Not because the world is magical, although perhaps it is, but that's because the observer has changed. And when the observer changes, the observed has no choice but to change as well. The present self manifests itself, not the you that you will be, not the you that you were, the you that you are, now, here, in this breath. This is the self that creates. And there's a lightness to it, a lightness that comes when you realize you don't need to carry the past into the future. that you don't need to solve all the problems at once, that you don't need to understand everything before moving forward. You just need to be present, completely present, with what is, with who you are, now, and in that presence, not in waiting for presence, not in trying to be more present, in presence itself. There is a force that doesn't need to announce itself. She simply acts. She simply creates. She simply manifests, silent, inevitable, like gravity. You came here looking for something. Perhaps I don't know exactly what yet, but whatever it is, it's already inside you, but not as potential, as presence. The consciousness that you are doesn't need permission to create. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't need a different past. She only needs a moment, and that moment is always now. The present is not a point in time. It's the only place where existence happens, the only place where you truly exist, the only place where change is possible. And here you are, not somewhere, here, not at some point, now. That's enough. More than enough. That's all.